I chose the Sigma 24mm f2 DGDN-I contemporary lens by Sigma because it was 1, compact, 2, had very good autofocus, at least from my manual focus standards, and 3, the image quality was good. So those are the 3 main reasons I chose this lens. In this video, I want to commentate on this video clip, or this long, multiple video clips of using this lens on my Lumix S5 on a Zhiyun Weebill S gimbal. So throughout this video, I'm just like my previous video about my Voigtlander 50mm f1 lens. I'm going to be watching this edited video clip at the same time as commentating on my experiences using this Sigma f2 DGDN lens. So yeah, I'm watching this video that you're watching, and in this you can see I tried to vlog with it here.
This is what it looks like pointing this way. And now to the front.
What you'll notice in a few seconds is there was an issue with the gimbal.
Okay, it looks like the battery is at the halfway point.
Now I don't typically use a gimbal, so I had an error pop up. So what had happened was I forgot to unlock one of the axes of the gimbal. I believe it was the panning axis. I forgot to unlock it, so the gimbal wasn't working.
Oh, it's because it's not on. That's why. Okay, I'm restarting the gimbal because I had it locked. Alright, now that the axis isn't locked by accident, the panning axis was locked. I forgot to unlock it, and now the battery's back to full, whereas it was halfway when it was locked. I'm keeping the autofocus on the whole time. We'll see how it does.
Alright, so now that the gimbal is fully functional and there aren't any locks still on, you can see me walking with the gimbal in POV mode, I believe it's called. I don't have too much experience with gimbals or gimbal work. I usually have other people working the gimbal on wedding projects. So I don't have that much experience with the gimbal, so this is my first time using one in a very long time. I believe the last time I used a gimbal was in September of 2022, and that was because I was the only shooter for a job. And I still wanted some gimbal shots to complement my handheld and tripod footage, so I brought this Weebill S to a wedding in September. And it was a handful because I hadn't had too much experience using a gimbal before then, while at the same time trying to shoot handheld and any other form of equipment that I had on site, like managing audio. So in this video, throughout this video, you'll see me walking with this gimbal in both POV mode and I forget what the other name of it is, but you'll see it when it pops up.
Let's just go back up.
Anyway, in this clip, you see me attempt to go to a lower level of the lookout that I'm at, Belvedere, Champlain, in Gatineau Park of Quebec, Canada. I didn't want to go in, and you probably heard me swearing. I tried to cut out the swearing because while I tried to go down there, there were a ton of flies, mosquitoes, and other bugs that I didn't want to stay around, so I came back up. Although the architecture around this area was very nice the last time I was here. The last time I was at this lookout, it wasn't closed, so this was a new keep out sign to me. The lookout is still gorgeous, look at that. The mountains are beautiful, the trees, especially on this day of shooting. It was a beautiful day out. Not too I'm sure photographers and other videographers would say that a high noon shooting condition like this isn't optimal for video or photo work, and it really wasn't the best for camera work because it was very harsh lighting. Ideally, I would have liked it to be a little overcast so there wouldn't be as harsh of a light on any subjects in frame here. But throughout this video, there aren't any subjects. I'm just walking around. I'm literally just walking around with this Sigma 24mm and testing it on my gimbal. Now, the reason I am making this video or testing out this lens is because I just picked it up. I picked up this lens because I needed a wide-angle autofocus lens. I don't have any other autofocus lenses. This is my one and only autofocus lens, and I plan to use it with a gimbal. Next week, I am shooting just outside of Montreal, and that is a solo job, so I will be the sole operator of handheld, tripods, and gimbal work. And as I mentioned, I don't typically use a gimbal, so I decided to take out this gimbal and practice kind of with it. And with it came this Sigma 24mm. I picked it up last week, I believe, maybe just over a week ago, and I found it at a very good price, and that's why I decided to go for it. I had been thinking about picking up a new autofocus lens for the past few months because while I was recording these YouTube videos over the past few months of living in my new home, I realized that my manual focus lenses aren't always the most practical when trying to record myself, because a lot of the times when I set manual focus while trying to speak into the camera, I oftentimes come in and out of focus because I can't sit still. The plane of focus with my manual focus lenses, I'm not always aware of where it is in relation to my camera if I'm speaking to the camera or something like that. So having an autofocus lens has been on my radar, or looking into autofocus lenses has been on my radar for the past few months. I've been thinking and looking at autofocus lenses for this purpose of recording myself. And I didn't really need to. I figured I could just work with my manual focus lenses and just make do with what I have. Until I got asked to shoot a styled shoot, and that's what I'll be working next week. A styled shoot which I do want to be able to record some gimbal footage with.
Where's that sound coming from?
And I have used my gimbal, this gimbal, the Weebill S, with manual focus lenses. I have the electronic piece that connects to the Weebill S and connects to manual focus lenses with the focus teeth. I'm not sure what it's called, but essentially you can use manual focus lenses with the Weebill S and manually focus with the focus wheel that's part of the gimbal. I hope that makes sense. If you look it up, you'll be able to see what I mean. Basically it's an electronic focus puller that connects to your manual focus lenses on the gimbal. So that's what I had experience with in September, but I remember that it was not always the most smooth to use because manual focus lenses have hard stops on either side when you're at infinity and when you're at the closest focusing distance. And when I reach those ends of the focus barrel, the electronic focus puller of the gimbal would try to keep turning the manual focus lens, and obviously it wouldn't move further than that. So it would oftentimes move the entire camera that was on the gimbal. So imagine the teeth of the focus puller and the teeth of the lens just grinding against each other and stopping. But since the electronic focus pull mechanism wouldn't stop, it would just keep going when I didn't know I needed it to stop, it would move the camera that was on the gimbal. And when the camera moves on the gimbal, the center of gravity and the balance of that camera on the gimbal gets out of whack. So all this to say that focusing with the electronic focus puller of the gimbal might lead to your camera coming out of balance, basically, is what I'm saying, because it doesn't know when to stop trying to pull and push focus on that lens. You know what I mean? I hope I explained that properly. So that was the biggest reason why I was looking at an autofocus lens.
Okay, we're at the 16-minute mark of recording. Camera's still good with autofocus, continuous autofocus on. And gimbal, the Weebill S, is still at full battery. Holy, there's this fly following me around. Oh, it's also really hot. I'm wearing jeans.
And the Sigma I-series DGDN contemporary lens really tickled my fancy because of its size. The size and compactness of this lens was and still is a big factor in why I have enjoyed using it so far. The dimensions of this lens are 70mm by 72mm, and so it's on par with my current M-mount lens lineup of smaller lenses. Now, after watching multiple reviews about this lens, everyone seems to say that it's nice and compact. The funny thing is that compared to my M lenses, it's still on the bigger side. But overall, I would consider this a very compact and easily portable lens when you're traveling between jobs. That's something that I think about all the time. I have to think about how much space I have in my luggage or my bags when I do travel or fly out of province. So yeah, it's very compact for an autofocus lens by my experience and what I've seen online. And the weight is only 365 grams, so it's what you would expect. The material is all metal. The all aluminum body is very much appreciated. I enjoy knowing that it's a durable and mechanically sane lens casing. And the elements inside are very pleasing. I don't have much experience with the autofocus just yet. The only autofocus experience I have is with this literal video that we're watching, and I like it. I don't have any preconceived understanding of what autofocus does or should be, so I'm coming into this very blind. The last time I had autofocus lenses was when I was in the Sony E-mount system, and that system I had another 24mm lens, the Sony G Master 24mm f1.4 lens, I believe it was, and that was a beautiful lens. That is the lens that I really miss of the E-mount system, because it was so sharp, it was so compact as well, and so pleasing to the eye when using, and the autofocus was brilliant. I remember using it on a few weddings. This was back in, I think I got that lens in 2018, and then I ended up selling my whole E-mount system at the end of 2019, so just over a year I think I had that lens, maybe just under 2 years, something like that. And I still think about that lens today. And I think that was why I was so drawn to this 24mm, because I was so used to the 24mm focal length on my previous camera system. And now moving to the L-mount system here with my Lumix S5 in this video, and also my Leica SL2S, which I'm not shooting on in this video because I'd rather have a smaller body on the gimbal. I really enjoy this 24mm lens. It's very easy to work with, and I can see that throughout this video it's locked on subjects decently well.
I lost one of the 5 battery bars on my Lumix S5. I've been recording for 23 minutes. There's a bug on my camera. Holy what the heck? Alright, time to get out of here. Let's try to lock onto this sign.
In this clip, you can see me trying to lock onto that sign, and it does it really well. It makes it a lot easier to pull or autofocus because it's so wide. I believe because of the wide angle focal length, it's easier for the autofocus mechanics to lock on and stay locked on, or track.
Okay, I got 4 minutes left of recording on the S5.
I know it's a mixture of the lens and the body. I know the Lumix S5 and any other older Lumix L-mount bodies aren't the greatest.
It's currently 28 degrees Celsius.
They're known to be some of the worst autofocus systems.
The camera's doing fine. No overheating. I'm overheating though.
So I'm not exactly using this lens in its most capable light. I know that the new S5 IIX and the S5 II are very good. Oh, you can see me running in this clip. I was running from a fly, it kept following me, and even when I stopped running in this heat, it stayed flying around me. I'm not sure why, but it's that season, the season of flies. Anyway, this 24mm locks onto focus very well, I think.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, starting again. 30-minute limit.
In the next few clips, you'll see me trying to do a selfie video and kind of vlog with it. And I won't speak on top of that because I speak to the camera at that time. But you'll notice in a few seconds or in a few clips from now that it doesn't lock onto focus when I try to do a selfie video. And I didn't have the screen out to know whether or not I was in focus, because if I opened the screen out to do a selfie, it would have changed the balance of the gimbal. So I was selfieing blind, essentially, not knowing if I was in focus or not. And you can see that it doesn't pull focus well when it's close. Coming from a infinity focus to close focus isn't the greatest, and you'll see it in a few seconds.
Alright, let's test out the vlogging stick. Here's my hair. Okay. I really like the setup. It's not too much strain on my arm. I've worked with a few other gimbals before, and I know a few other gimbals are very heavy. So I guess it depends on the setup that you're going to be using a gimbal with. Like the S5 that I currently have with the Sigma 24 isn't that heavy. So it's I could see this being a full day rig without getting too much, or I guess it would be like an average amount of strain on the arm and back, but nothing too much crazier than you would expect from a camera rig setup. It's also nice when I do it, when I have it in undersling mode so far. Makes it easier because the center of gravity is working in your favor, and you can just balance it with one hand. And if you absolutely wanted to, you could balance it with one finger with the handle, the back handle. The only downside is that it's really hot right now. I don't know if it affects the battery life of the camera now that I have autofocus turned on, or the battery life of the gimbal. So those are just my preliminary thoughts. I'm sure in this edited video that you're watching I'll have more to say about it after going through the footage. But yeah, hello future me.
Hello past
Talking to
me.
myself. And expanding on my current thoughts.
And yes, I do have a few more thoughts after recording and watching this video. And speaking of, using this gimbal reminds me of...
Come on, focus. There we go.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver. Your hands only.
This 24mm focal length is such a good field of view for first-person video games. And that's what using this gimbal really reminded me of. So yeah, if you are looking at this lens, I didn't really comment on the quality of this lens, at least the image quality. Honestly, it's good for what you would need it for. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't pixel peep, so I don't have too much experience being able to comment on that. I haven't used it for photos, so I definitely can't comment on it in those terms. But for video, I was using a variable ND filter with this, and that's why you see the X kind of vignetting throughout this video. And I could... If you are using this wide open, like I was throughout this video at f2, you could always fix any vignetting in post. I just chose not to here. Or you could just buy a better ND filter. Oh, in this clip you can see how long it takes for the lens to refocus properly. I don't know why it went out of focus and went out of whack a few seconds ago, but you can see here it's still trying to lock onto focus. I waited a little bit to see how long it would take to focus on the background there in the trees, but it wasn't working. I'm not sure why. I just attribute it to how far away the focus actually was, because the Lumix S5 is contrast detect autofocus. It's not the greatest. So I actually had to manually focus the lens there. I was pulling focus, and that option was really cool. I don't think many autofocus lenses have that option to be able to manually focus while in autofocus mode. So what I did was just adjust the focus ring to infinity, and it locked onto focus. So essentially I was helping the autofocus find the plane of focus that it needs to focus on.
Battery is still full on the gimbal.
And I thought that was really cool. I don't think many other lenses have that option there. Alright, so I made it back to the parking lot here. Overall, this was a great lens, very compact, image quality is good, and the autofocus does what it's supposed to do, at least most of the time.
There's my car. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording now. Thanks for watching, guys.